right? So it's fun. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bold Woman with Mai Vu Coach. I am so excited to be here with you and bring you my new friend, actually, Laura Machida. Is that right? Yes, I did it
Machida,
right. Okay.
yes,
I should have asked your name before I go
that's
on.
okay.
Anyway, Laura Machida. And Laura said to me, there's so many things I can talk about. Let's start with what's it like on the other side of menopause, divorce, and being an empty nester? I said, absolutely. All of these things are right in the house of a bold, brave woman because
Yes,
OMG, every one of them requires so much bravery, so much courageous and personal stamina to go through and to shine and have fun on the other side. So let's have a conversation about what is life like after menopause, after divorce, and after emptiness. Come on in, Laura.
thank you. Well, I'm excited to be here and I love watching your chats with other women. I love connecting with other bold, brave women and especially Asian women. I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I today is Wednesday and on Sunday I turned 69.
Oh,
So
it's this Sunday already. I thought we still have a long, a long runway to 69, but it's right around the corner.
yep. I am 69, and sometimes I just go, "Oh my god, that sounds so old," and yet I don't feel it, but it
You don't
sounds
look
it.
it.
And let's see, I married at 33, and I divorced at 50. I had a son at 35. I lost a daughter in my second trimester 2 years later, and then I had um, another son when I was 40. And they're both
Wow.
alive and well and thriving. And they are out of the house. It was
Good
a
parenting.
revolving door for a while.
Oh,
And that was okay, And I remember the heartstrings and everything. But they've been out for a number of years now, and they both have their own houses and their own marriages. And I have two grandchildren. And when I divorced, it was very hard because my parents divorced and kind of wrote the book on what you shouldn't do, blame the kids, tug of war and all that stuff. And I swore I wouldn't do that to my kids. And I'm very proud that we had a very amicable divorce. We wrote our agreement. Um, we went to court, and the judge and said, "This is what we wrote together. This is what we want." And she said, "Well, usually with kids, we ask you to wait 6 months. Would that be a hardship?" And I said, "Well, it wouldn't be a hardship. It may be a little stressful, but we've been separated for a while, so, it'd be all right." She went, "Done." So it granted then. And we actually remained friends. And
how how did you do that? Because I went through a divorce too, and we started out as friends. We were great husband and wife to each other. To be honest, our marriage when it fell apart, it was a surprise to both of us. And then we actually waited 6 years before we divorced, and everything was fine. But my hairdresser at that time had given me an omen. He said a prediction. He said, you know, in my divorce and in a lot of divorce that I have heard about in this chair, there's always one thing that suddenly wrecks all of that amicability and it goes out the window and the fangs come out. So I wonder what it is for you. And for him, it was a set of old dishes from grandma or grandpa or whatever. And then And then for us, it was the division of the house. The how do we settle on the house? And it got to a point where I actually had to have a lawyer to defend, to add voice to my, to what I know is true. And I won. I actually won both that and also his demand for alimony. However, it really did, uh it was something that he really needed to really rip the relationship apart. Um and for me, it was unnecessary. I still welcome him into my life, but he refuses to be in my life. Although, once in a while I'd call and said, I'm moving and I really need some help. Could you please help me? And somehow the guy suck it up and come and help me move. But still, I really wish that our friendship didn't get like that. So how did you maintain yours?
Well, we did a lot of that before the divorce. We did separate and try to, we saw each other a lot while we were separated. There was a straw that broke the camel's back.
What was
Uh,
that?
well, it was money, and he did something that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm not sure I want to get
Let's
into
just say
that, and I
stupid
might later.
logic.
But
Yeah,
so
you don't have to.
we agreed on the division of property and stuff, and we agreed on uh, child support and um, joint custody. Although they stayed with me all the time. I think he had them 2 weekends a year, but he talked to them and saw them almost daily. So they did feel loved. I feel good because we never put the kids in between. We didn't tell the kids. We just said we love
Right?
you, but we can't be together anymore. And and it it was pretty good. I call it old shoe friendships. We talk to each other a
Mm.
couple times a week, and it'd be just like,
Wow.
"What are you doing? I don't know. I'm kind of bored today. What are you doing?" It wasn't heavy. And when things came up about the kids, we would deal with it. I also
How did
felt like
how did you
he,
forgive each other for that rip, for that speed bump?
oh, that took time because he
Mm.
was not good with money, and I bailed him out many, many, many times, and that's when we separated. When I said I have to stop enabling you and stop bailing you out, um,
Wow.
and
That is bold and brave, honey. I have
it
to
was
stop
it was
bailing you out
hugely
around this money.
brave.
Woo!
It was hugely brave, hard for me, but it was really good for me, and and there were a couple rough times. He started seeing somebody, but hiding it
Mm,
from me and asking the
mm,
kids to not tell me. And I got really mad when I found out. And I said, "Don't ever ask the kids to lie for you." I said, "I'm glad you're
mm,
going out, blah, blah, blah." And so we got through that. And then um, he met someone and fell in love and moved in with her. And I was very happy for them, genuinely.
mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
felt like, good, somebody else can take care of them. And the kids saw that. And the kids' friends would say, my friends ask me, why did your parents get divorced? They get along so well. And I said, so did you tell them? And they go, tell them what? And I said, it's because we got divorced that we get along so well. And that was, I thought, true. And
Mm-hmm.
then
Yeah.
he he wanted she wanted to get married. He didn't want to get married again,
Mm,
but she wanted to get married, and he was over saying, I don't want to do this. I don't have money. I don't have this. And he actually came down with cancer. And he
oh,
found
way to
out
go to not, way to go to, instead of saying, no, I don't want to marry you, you come down with cancer.
he he found out in stage 4. and she still
Oh.
wanted to marry him. And she was a nurse, anesthetist, so she knew what she was getting
Mm.
herself into. So actually, uh, we joked, and I said, "Well, choose one. You can go crawl in a cave and die miserably, lonely, and depressed, or you can marry this beautiful woman and have some good last years. Pick one."
Wow, that's so generous.
Well, I it wasn't sympathetic, but I thought, come on. And so he went and he called me and said, "Yeah, we're going to get married. We're going to go to the justice of the peace, you know." And I said, "Well, I can marry you." And I was joking, you know, because I'm a Universal Life Church minister and I have officiated other couples. And she liked the idea, which floored me, but she had a really kind of awful divorce, and her ex bashed her, and she wanted her kids to see that divorced people can get along. And that was her reason for saying, "Yes, would you officiate the wedding?" So I did. And it was really beautiful and sweet. And I got support from his family, and who I'm still close to. And except they all support 45 and kind of are anti-vaxxers. But I still love them, but that's a
Ah,
and
rawr.
he died 5 years ago. He died a year and a half after he got married. And during that time, she was taking care of him and I was helping out with hospital stuff, and we had talks, what unfinished business do we have to deal with? What do we have? And I feel so good that we did that because it felt really clean. I feel
Mm,
I still had the grief and everything, but I don't feel like I'm carrying around a whole lot of stuff. I felt like
mm,
we dealt with it. And
mhm,
I felt it was good for my kids too.
mhm,
They saw that we move ahead, we got along, that love really rules, that even all the family love in that last 2 years.
mm,
And I think my grandson turned 1
mm.
when he first found out he had cancer. And it's a 1-year old birthday party, and there were 52 people because we all came together, and really everybody wanted to make those last years really good. And I mean, the love of all of our families really, I thought, was really beautiful. So I feel good about that, and that's allowed me to move ahead. So to talk about life and sex and our body after menopause, I created a workshop, The Best Is Yet to Come, because I met somebody when I turned 60, and I wasn't expecting, to fall in love again. And I fell in love, and my body really responded. And I have had the best sex in my 60s out of my whole life.
Wow,
And
you
I feel
are
like
so fortunate.
I am, but I'm fortunate because well, I've been attending love, sex, and intimacy workshops and body sacred workshops and
Yeah,
the culture workshop. I've been doing body work all my life, and
the work. Yeah, yeah.
I believe in the power. I believe that sex is really good, and it's really
Yeah.
positive, and it's a way to connect with yourself and a way to energize and to share and be really truly
Connected.
connected. And
And
so
connected
I met
and
someone who was very attentive and not rushed, and I my body really responded. We take a lot of time, and that makes all the difference in the world. You take a lot of time energizing and engorging the whole vulva and the whole yoni, and then, oh my God, the orgasms are so much greater, and I never squirted before, and it just came like naturally. So I was happy, and
Yeah.
I really believe, I totally 100% believe the best is yet to come. And even oming,
Yep.
you learn how to feel
Yes.
like you deserve pleasure without having to give something back, without having to earn it, or without having to, you know, give back double or anything. I mean, some real wonderful shifts happen when we, as women, feel like, yes, we deserve this pleasure. We deserve taking time. We deserve taking our time and letting it build over and over and over again. So I really believe that.
Well, I love that you. Oh God, there's so many things that I want to like grab before we lose them all, right? So, I love that first part about being complete with your ex-husband. I mean, like, divorce is just a piece of paper, but being complete and dealing with unfinished business, and then is so important. And being friends, being good to each other from beginning, middle to the end is so important. I don't understand how people could say, I love you, I marry you, and then I hate you, and don't get out of my life and don't talk to me. It's so ridiculous. So I think that's such an important um way of being that I'm signed up for the same course. The same course in this lifetime is I'm continue to be good to my ex-husband or my current partner, or whoever that has been in my life, because once I say I love you whether we stay together or not. That doesn't change. So that's so important. And then I love that you now talk about what happened afterward, like you're six, in your 60s, you're having sex again, and lo and behold, it's like this body's still working. I personally
Yes.
needed personally for me, I needed to hear that, because I discovered that in my 40s. Like, I was such a good girl, good Asian Catholic, firstborn immigrant
Obedient.
girl, obedient, do it right, don't have sex until you're married, kind of bullshit. Anyway, I did the whole thing, and
Yes.
then I didn't have a sex life. I didn't know my sex and all this stuff. And so in my 40s, when my marriage fell apart, I explored, and I call it my PhD in sex, love, and relationship.
Yes.
And I spent 3 years exploring, 3 years and 33 men, and
Oh,
really,
great.
yeah, because I needed to have the data points, that is belong to me, not my
Yes.
mother, not my church, not my not my
Not your
politician,
men.
not your man. This is my own data point I need to learn. And so I call it a PhD in sex, love, and relationship, because I realized at that time that for a woman, or for most people, but for me, speaking as a woman, I clump them all together. I can't have sex with you unless we're in a relationship, and that means that means we love each other. And I don't think that's true, and that's just what was told to me. And I think it did me a lot of bad. There's no so I wanted to see what I was like as a sexual being. How do I love, and how do I be in relationship? Those are three very significant things that we need to pull apart to understand about
Yes.
ourselves. So I
Yes.
got to do that for myself, and I reclaimed my sex, and I was like flourishing. And like, the me now looks so different than the me before my own PhD program, because I was on track to become an old woman, an old married mom that was just not thriving. Anyhow, and then I met my current partner. We had a great first 5 years of sex and exchange and communion. It was wonderful, and he was a great lover, blah blah blah. And then relationship happens. And then and then he had prostate cancer. So for the last 3 years, we have not had sex, like zero sex. And it's not even interested down there. So I pretty much had shut down my own sexuality as he shut down his sexuality and just deal with the cancer. And and I can tell, like I was like, oh, I'm starting to dry up down there. Oh, uh, then I start making up stories, like, oh, I heard people get dry up and then they get tight and then it's hard and then it hurts and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going down this way. It's tight, it's gonna break, and I'm done with this. And today you're like, hey, I'm 60 something and
I'm
something
69.
whooshes and it's going and it's not dry. And I'm like, yes, I signed for that program.
You know,
So much, huh?
yes, it's a lot that we go through. I explored too, and I explored with men and women, and I
Yes, me
love
too.
that.
And trans. I discovered that I really like the boobs on top and the penis on the bottom. I'm like, that's the best of both worlds. What are you talking
It
about? Give
is.
me that.
It is. I agree. I mean, and it's really the person more than the body. But that's wonderful to kind of take away those barriers or those
That's
lines.
ignorant thinking. Yes.
So my current partner of 8.5 years introduced me to polyamory, and I was always
Mm,
monogamous, and it was very
mm.
very challenging. Oh my God! Talk about
Oh, yeah.
exploring, insecurities and all
Yeah.
the scripting and everything that I bought into. I'm still I we call it monogamish, but I have lots of permission to play around how I feel comfortable. And he too. I don't know. I mean, I think this is okay because it's his confidentiality, which I've
Yeah.
been very protective of. But he also got prostate cancer, which is what my husband died of 5 years ago. And I watched my husband go through, he went from being a Marine 200-pound buff guy to 100 pounds really weak, or 120 pounds. And in a year and a half time. So I was like really concerned. We're catching this early and treating it early, which is really important. Um, and it was right at the beginning of the pandemic,
Oh,
and the hospital postponed his treatment. That's only a mile and a half away from us. We had to, we actually took the RV and moved 2.5 hours away so we could be near another hospital that would treat him.
yeah.
And it was quite a process. And he chose radiation, not surgery,
Mm.
and not um, hormones. And my goal in this long process from when we discovered was, well, his priority was to remain
To remain what?
sexual.
Mm.
Sexual.
Yeah.
And so my own personal goal was, okay, I'm going to give you an erection or an orgasm every day. I'm going to help you with that. And you know, I had fun doing that. And then during treatment, um, because of treatment, it became incredibly painful for him. And to make love with somebody and then have them suddenly feel extreme pain was like, are you sure you want to do this? I will support you any way I can, but oh my God, it was like right when he was about to orgasm, he would just double up in pain.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so sex was really strange for a while, but I more or less let him lead. I did set my needs aside, and it was so he had 6 weeks of radiation, and he was in pain for probably 3 months of that, but we kept at it.
Oh my gosh.
And 2 months to the
Wow.
day of his last radiation, he didn't have pain. And it was
Oh.
like, oh my God, you actually climaxed and didn't double up in pain. And so we celebrated. And actually, that's been a year, and he's as good as he was before the radiation.
Wow. What a
So he
great
has a sex life, and
story.
I have a sex life. Um, and he'll be 61 in July, and the doctors. We read all these studies and everything about, well, your sexual ability is going to go down anyway. They tell you,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, so we have 8 or 10 more years. Well, let's make the best of it.
Oh, that's so
My
great.
attitude.
Yeah.
That's for him. That's not for us. So that's that background, and also I have lots of friends now whose partners have gone through that and have their sex life has changed dramatically. But you don't have to have intercourse to have a really good sex life. You don't. You can have a really good sex life without.
Well, that's a bit. I love that.
And you can use other
I love that
things
you say
if
that
you
because
like penetration.
to be honest, for us, it's like we may not be sexual, but we are affectionate, and we really do just enjoy each other's. So for me, jump, sitting on him, holding him, kissing him, rubbing against him, playing for 2 minutes is like feels satisfying, feels connected for me. So I don't really, um, well, I don't, I don't want to say that I'm settling for that. I'm just saying is that I'm surprised to say that I enjoy being with him. I enjoy touching him. I enjoy holding hands with him. It's like our hand holding feels like a good sexual connection. Our um just our affection for each other. So that's what I have now. And uh do I miss the other stuff? Yeah, I'm sure I do, but I don't know it because I'm in this space right now, and I'm sure when I have sex again, I'd be like, yeah, oh my God, how did I miss this all this time? But I feel I don't want to I don't feel like I'm starving, but I'm
Yeah.
sure I could use some. So let's hope for both
Well,
possibilities, right?
there's many nights we don't have to have penetration. I mean, hands and mouth. I can have multiple orgasms with hands, and I have toys that I can use, and he's very open to using anything
Yeah.
that I want. And he comes up with great ideas too that just add variety. So he's really encouraged me to ask for what I want, which um, is good. I think it would be really hard if um, he has never said to me, "Don't ask me for something that I can't give you." It's more like, let's try to figure out how we can make this happen, and we do that for each other. And you know, it's kind of fun trying. I just feel like it's fun trying. It's not the goal. It's the it's the trying
It's the
it. And
journey.
it's the
It's the
journey
journey.
and learning
Yeah.
new things and then being kind to each other and saying,
Right.
that really worked, or well, that was fun to try, but let's not do that one again. Or
Oh, I love
just
that saying. It's kind. It's the kindness to each other that's fun. I love that. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll even say, I think I'm trying too hard.
Mm,
I can't come because I'm
yeah.
trying too hard. I just want to lighten up and just
Yeah.
enjoy touch.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll just say, I don't have a lot of energy. I just want to snuggle.
Yeah.
And I don't,
Yeah.
and
So like
he'll let me
it's like
know
the
if he's
connection.
disappointed or if he really wants more.
Yeah. The connection is what's important, not the achieving of
Right.
orgasm or climax that's important. And I also wanted to to share a bit more of my journey because I realized that I have not actually shared this. I'm like as open as I am on social media, I have not talked about this. So for those who are listening, and just in case you are going through something similar as my journey, where with my partner, he opted for with prostate cancer, he opted for hormone therapy, which means it takes away his testosterone, which means it takes away all the sexual drive that a man has. So so it's so interesting when a man doesn't have that sexual drive because the way he touched my boobs is different. It's not sensual. It's not sexual. It's not arousal. It's kind of like right. It's not
Yes.
without the testosterone. You just don't have that. I want it, and then it drives the cock become hard and all that stuff. Everything is just dead. So for me, I find that if I go toward that, it's too painful. It's too much. It's awkward. It's all of my sensuality just kind of like hits this flat note over there. So then it's just like, so then it makes him feel bad that so then I'm just like, it's just easy not to deal with it. I know that's not the best answer, but sometimes that's just what it is, like
Is what
it's
it
just
is.
easier to deal with it that way. And it's okay. If it's okay inside, then it's okay outside.
Yes.
So anyway, it's a
So
fascinating
I'm
topic. We could do a
curious.
whole show on that. Yeah.
My first husband took the hormones, and he had a great sense of humor too. I mean,
Yeah.
I did love that about him. He would
Mm.
say, "Oh my God, I know what you feel like now. I am so emotional, and I get hot flashes, and I cry, and he says, and I get all weird in my head, and he goes, I'm having one of those moments now, and we would just we would just laugh together, laugh and cry. But I felt it opened up uh, a different part. It changed him, but it opened up something in him, and instead of shaming him or pressuring him, we actually talked about it and we laughed. He had a good sense of humor. Um, and I felt he got more heart.
Mm. Mm.
He
Mm.
got softer in the heart and could feel and sense. He became more sensitive in some ways. Sometimes it drove him absolutely
Wow.
nuts, and I was really glad I didn't have to live with him then. But did you find that he got more sensitive and more moody?
Um. Well, think he got. Well, not got. He still is. Sometimes I think he's a little grumpy, and so, but he also takes. He takes medicine, medicinal marijuana to stabilize his mood. So now God, I went from like petrified of anything that has the word M on it, marijuana, Mary Jane, whatever. Like, that's horrible. To looking at him and going, have you taken medicine today yet, honey? Maybe you should take some, because
It's really
we
good
get
for
along
you. I
so
think it's
much
really good.
better. Yeah. So anyway, our relationship involves Mary Jane. So that way it's a lot easier
I think it really
to
helps.
maneuver around when we have
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
smoke
it's
because I
okay,
can't stand it in my lungs. It hurts. But I take a medical,
yeah.
and and occasionally he'll take like a Cialis, and it makes him go
It's a
longer.
party.
And if I take indica medical, it makes all my sensations enhanced. So we don't do that often, but when we do it, I'm just like, wow, that was really, really great.
I'm a
Um,
teenager again.
works for me. Works for me. And
I
it's
have not
funny,
done that.
I don't think it's bad because I don't feel like I abuse it, and I just feel like, oh, it's a great time now. It's legal, it's accessible. I don't have to worry too much about what's in it, and I feel pretty good about it.
So I I I'm so glad. I'm so glad to hear that you're having a great time and entering 69 from this place of full of health, full of life, full of sensuality and sexuality and hearts and mind and spirit all together. I'm so happy for you. I'm sure that it took so much boldness and bravery to get here. So I honor you, sister, as a fellow woman, a fellow Asian woman. I mean, look at us, two Asian women talking about
Yes.
sex, drug. We didn't talk about alcohol. I actually don't believe in alcohol. So sex, drug, and
Independence.
non-alcohol, and
Well,
independence.
I really believe you create, or I am creating, I was on that path.
Yeah,
You get married, you have kids, you do this, you do that. And it doesn't have to be that way. And I had a scared last week. I got a mammogram, and they called me and said, we found something in your right breast. My sister had breast cancer last year, so I was like, oh fuck, isn't there enough going on in our lives? And then, a week later I found out I was clear, and I felt so relieved, and his scores came back. So I really feel we have to make the most out of our lives. I mean, the
yeah,
inevitable will happen. And
yeah.
this van is going to give me some adventures that I really, really want. He is still working full time, and I retired 8 years ago. And so I said, last year I put off all my trips, and it's really okay. I was there for you, and it was the right thing to do. But this year, I want to travel while you work. And I did some therapy on that because I'm thinking, if I met him now, I probably wouldn't be dating him because, we just don't have the same desires. I want to do all this stuff, and he really wants to work. And we had good long talks, and he said, there's couples who one retires and the other one doesn't. It doesn't mean they get divorced. And I can go off and travel. And this is what I'm about to do. And I went to Florida, I went to Hocking Hills, I took some little trips. I'm going to take some, and I'm going to just keep on expanding. It's also due to COVID. I feel safe
Yay!
traveling in the van due to COVID. I'm more nervous about
Yeah,
encountering Asian hate on the
the
road
after COVID.
than COVID, because of COVID, I know how to defend myself.
Well, I just came back from a cross country road trip, and I
An
there were
awesome one.
moments where yes, there were moments where we did encounter some weird looks from people, like when we were in Wyoming, and but we kind of cut across the country. We didn't go south. I'm a little afraid to go south. However, my point though is this: I actually am going to write about this. I'm actually working on the compilation of this road trip that we've just been on. Um, is that yes, racism exists
Everywhere.
absolutely everywhere, and it does feel a bit like a throwback because I immigrated into this country in the 70s, and there was a lot of racism then, and uh, but we're still safe. We're still safe, and we can still transform the energy of hate. We can still transform the energy of discrimination through our hearts, through our love. I uh, I just so get that, and I also get that I carry the fear of racism with me, and I bring it into situation to see if it's there, and I'm learning to just hold all of this complexity and said, yes, racism exists. I mean, it exists inside me and exists everywhere. And Asian hate exists. And so be careful. And we still have the power to transmute it. I experiment with some of it. It was successful. I'll write about it. But so we're not fully victim of it. We just and you know it. I know you
I
know what
know.
I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's yeah. It's like there is that stuff in the air that we breathe. We have polluted the air. Yes, I get it. And you can still breathe, and you can still travel, and you can still live, and you can still laugh, and you can still love, and it's okay. So I don't know if that's
It's kind
helpful.
of like, women have a sixth sense. We're always aware around us. It's kind of that
Yeah,
too. It's the same kind of feeling of what are the vibes in here? And
yeah,
am I alone? Do I have an ally nearby? What would I do? So
yeah,
I'm kind
yeah.
of always
And
thinking that way.
it is tiresome to have to live that way, to have to look that way. However, I don't know if there's a place in the world that you don't have to do that. I think it's just part of being a survival of the fittest of animal. I mean, I go to Vietnam, it's my own country, and I still have to watch out for who's who's prejudiced against me, who's not a native anymore. Like this, it's everywhere. So anyway, it doesn't stop us from living, loving, and laughing.
Well, there are some safe places. The Women's Music
Yes.
Festival is the safest place I've ever been in my life.
Why?
And
You have to
feeling
tell
that
me more
is
about that.
fabulous.
All
It
right,
is
girlfriend,
so
we have to bring this to a close because we can go on. I promise we will do.
I
We'll
love
come
you
back.
though.
I
You
know,
are
right?
fabulous. You are really wonderful. I'm so
Thank
glad to meet you. I
you.
want to meet you in person someday.
Yes, yes, we will for sure this year even. Um, so we'll come back and we will have to talk deeper about cultivating our sex life, our sexual being through your work and my own personal discovery. It's very similar. And we have several other topics to talk about. So stay tuned. I will definitely circle back and we'll do part 1, part 2, and part 3 with May and Laura. Um, Thank you everyone for watching and sharing, and I would love to hear your comments or your reaction. We threw out a lot of fun stuff today, a lot of deep, powerful stuff that don't normally get to. I mean, like my little show description was very simple, beyond menopause, divorce, and emptiness. What's there? And there's so much there. There's cancer, and there's healing, and there's sexual orgasm, and there's joy and van life and road trips and all that stuff. So much. so much more to life after 69. I did add the song "Will You Still Love Me" at 69. The answer is hell yeah, baby. There's a
Oh,
whole
yes.
lot more to love. So thank you for listening, watching, however you access Bold Brave Woman show. And if you love what I do and would like to support me, please go to Buy Me a Coffee and buy me a coffee. Toss some coffee. It gives me some extra mojo. But really, it's the love behind it that that tells me that I'm on the right track. Keep bringing these conversations to the world so that we can thrive together. The one thing about being a bold, brave woman is a lot of times we find ourselves alone and being bold and brave by ourselves. And it's so important to do that in community. So if you're looking for a healthy, yummy, easy community to be a part of, Bold Brave Woman on Facebook group, the private group, just send me a message and I will add you in if you're a real person, a real woman who really wants to be a part of a great community. Let's see what else. Blah blah blah. That's enough for now. I
I
will
just want to
bring you
add,
more
I
conversation in
truly
future.
believe the
Yes,
best is yet to come for all of us.
that's
I
right. The
truly
best is
believe
yet
that.
to come. Thank you. That's a perfect ad and a perfect ending to a lovely conversation. Thank you for watching, everyone. See you next time on the Bold Brave Woman Show. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.